guys, Labby Dragon here, and it is time for a tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make a little fabric garter like this one. This is not the one I'm working on today. This is a finished earlier. But anyway, like this one, where it's fabric instead of ribbon like people usually use. We're going to get around to doing ribbon garters at some point too, but I really like the fabric and lace ones right now because there's a lot of variety you can have when you're willing to do the steps to make this. So, let's talk about what you're going to need. Please pardon the fact that my craft space is also my bedroom because I can't afford to live on my own and actually have an actual craft room yet, so this isn't as nice as I want it to be. I can't show you all the things that I have laying out next to me that are the things you will need for this project. But I feel the need to make this video anyway because it pleases me and hopefully it pleases you and you learn something from it even though it's chaotic. So, starting with the first thing I touch. So this is in, not the order we're going to use them in, but we are going to need an iron. This is my iron. We are going to need our fabric scissors, which should be different from your craft scissors, which you are going to want both of these because we are going to need to cut both fabric and paper. If you don't have separate fabric and craft scissors, that's fine too. Just when you do get some really nice fabric scissors, do not ever cut paper with them. Ever. They're fabric only. These are my fabric scissors. They're nice. I paid like, I think $9 for them on sale. They're the teeny tiny Fiskars because I like teeny tiny scissors. And these are my everything else scissors. I had these first, and they were my everything scissors. But at the point at which a friend of mine, and I love her dearly, and this was perfectly fine by me because these weren't great scissors to begin with, cut open an apple with these scissors, that is the point at which I went, I really need fabric scissors. So, like I said, you're going to use this on your paper. You're going to use fabric scissors on your fabric. You're also going to need a tape measure. These you can generally get pretty darn cheaply. I believe this one was like in a dollar bin at Joann Fabrics and Crafts several years ago now. You are going to want like 12 of these if you are going to be a garment sewer at all because you're going to need to take all kinds of measurements to whatever. We're going to need this so that we get our measurements for our garter. You're going to need elastic in the width that you're going to want your garter to be. Now, I have, 3/4 inch or 0.75 of an inch. That would be 3/4. Because I want mine to be particularly wide because, and this is one of the other things you're going to need your fabric. And my fabric is this wonderful Wonder Woman fabric, and as you can see, it's got a very wide print. So I want, when it's folded in half, I want to have as much of that going on as possible. So I decided to do 3/4 of an inch. And keeping talking about the fabric, because we need to talk about that. This is 100% cotton. You could use whatever you like, satin, taffeta. Although if you're going to use satin and taffeta, you might as well just do ribbon anyway, in my opinion. But you could use them. You could use some of those nice, like, performance fabrics. You could use, like, a suede fabric. You can use anything. I am preferring cotton for these right now because the print is what I'm actually focused on when I'm making these with the fabric instead of the ribbon. You can get some really nice printed ribbon as well, but I really like the diversity of being able to use the fabric as well. And as you can see, I've pre-cut this, which was a little ahead of myself, but that's what happens when Labby does things. We're also going to need some pins, and I'll show you what we're doing with those later. But you will need these. You will need them. Always have a million of these. I have 2 sets, and I want more because I have these pretty ones, and I want more pretty ones. I want a pink set and a blue set, and to go with my kind of greenish blue set. And then you're also going to need your lace. I have gotten some lace by the spool from Joann Fabrics and Crafts again. This was, it says it on it, $3.99, so about $4. And there are several yards on this. Okay, by several I mean a yard and a third of a yard, because it's 4 feet. I'm a little silly like that, but there is enough of this for me to do a couple of garters, most likely. But probably only 2. I don't know why I rolled that out. But yeah, speaking of, while I'm rolling this up like an idiot, because I rolled it out like an idiot, you can also do by the yard. Joann definitely has a lot of like really, really amazingly gorgeous by the yard lace, and some of it is kind of cheap, and some of it is like bridal lace, so it's like $20 a yard. It's crazy, but that's just what lace costs sometimes. It just depends on whether it's like really nice bridal lace made out of like really nice materials, or if it's like craft lace for like kids' clothes, which are often the cute colored stuff. So like your purple, like just like pretty lace is actually gonna be there and cheaper than the bridal lace, so go for it. There's also, Michael's has a pretty good selection of like by the spool laces and stuff too. This is the point where I want to tell you, when you're doing a project, make sure you hit all of the craft stores available to you, and take your fabric with you. If you've chosen the fabric first, take the fabric with you and match it up. Like put it, take it into the store, and like make sure that you like it together before you buy, and definitely take this with you, because otherwise you're gonna be like, well, I'm not really sure that's the right color of lace. And then that's all kinds of problems. Alright, and the last thing you're going to need is actually going to be the pattern for your fabric. And I am going to talk to you about how to make this right now. Okay, so the first thing we need to do to figure out what size our pattern needs to be is we're going to measure where we want our garter to sit on our leg. And I'm going to awkwardly show you this way. This is what happens when you don't have a studio. So, this is wherever you want this garter to sit. Usually, they suggest wearing it like right above your knee, like about here. And if that's where you want it, that's where you're going to measure. If you want to do it under the knee, obviously you're going to measure under the knee, or you can go higher if you want. So that's all up to you, but I generally wear mine right about here. So I'm going to move this to where you can see it better, because this is all kinds of fun and new and learning for me too. Learning how to film a tutorial. Anyway, so you're just going to wrap this lightly. Like, you don't want to like squeeze your leg off, but you don't want to be too light either. You want nice accurate measurement. So here, sort of just above my knee, it's about 16.5 inches. I'm not sure that that's the measurement I got the last time, but that's how you're going to do it. You're going to wrap it around, and right where that metal thing goes is where your measurement is. Now, I would suggest writing this down, especially if you think you're going to want to make more garters, so you don't have to remeasure yourself each time or try to remember your measurements. I like to keep all of my measurements in this book right here, so that I don't ever have to wonder, crud, what is my waist size again? Unless I have a significant change in weight, really. Okay, so that measurement for where you want your garter to go is going to be your base garter measurement. You're going to write that down. My previous measurement was 18 inches. I just got 16 and a half, but I'm going to go with the 18 because I already have my pattern and stuff cut to that. So what you're going to do to figure out how large your pattern needs to be is you are going to take that base measurement and you're going to multiply it by 1.5. I've already done that math for myself, so the 18 times 1.5 is 27 inches. And then what I do is further, because, you know, a 27-inch pattern is large. I mean, this is half, and this is the whole thing. This is a bit of a large, I don't even get this all on the screen. This is a bit of a large pattern to create, so I generally take my number, put it in half, and then that's the size that my pattern has to be. And the half of my 27 is 13.5. This is actually approximately 14 inches. It's a little bit larger, but that's okay because the more length you have, the more gather you have. Okay, so we're gonna take, so to make the pattern, we're gonna take a piece of paper that already has this nice right angle for us, so that we don't have to worry about that. We're gonna use that angle. Your length. Now you're gonna use a longer piece of paper. I already have it made, so I'm just showing you what you would do. So let's say that for whatever reason you're using like you're making a tinier garter, like maybe you're making a garter for your flower girl or something. Like, so say your length, half of your length actually is 9 inches. So you take your pencil and you just make one little mark there, and that's going to be how long that's going to need to be, which you're going to turn this, and your width of your pattern is going to need to be about the width of the elastic you're going to use twice, plus another half of an inch for to allow for the way that we're going to turn the fabric over at the bottom. So if I have 3/4 inch elastic, 2 sets of 3/4 is 6/4. Why am I doing this math out loud? 6/4 is, so my width really only needs to be about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to line that up, and again make a mark. I'm just going to make it right there, and then I did not tell you to use a ruler, but a ruler might be nice. Excuse me while I go find a ruler. I'm very unprepared. Hey look, it's a ruler. This is gonna be way easier to use than a tape measure for this. Okay, so you line up on your mark, and to keep this straight you just line it up with the edge of the paper is what I do. And then you make a mark just all the way across, why not? And then you make your width mark at your length. You make your width at your length mark, yeah. If that makes sense to you, congratulations. And then you have your little pattern here, and you're gonna cut that out. And then I'll see you at the next step. Okay, now like I said, I got ahead of myself and I have already cut out my strip of fabric for this project. But I'm going to show you what you're going to want to do when you go to cut your fabric. Now if you remember, our pattern is only half of the length we need. So we need 2 of these, but preferably would like them connected. So what we do is, when you buy fabric, it's got the fold side, like this, where it's folded together. That's when you buy it by the yard usually. If you were buying like quilt squares or something, that would be different. But what you're going to do is you're going to lay the pattern so that one end of the rectangle is on the fold like so. And then you just have your pins open. You take your pins, you start pinning it in place, and you just pin it all the way down here, just as flat as you can, and then you just cut out right around this. You already have your seam built into this pattern, so you do not have to worry about a seam allowance. So, I will see you after you cut your fabric out. Now, I'm aware that what I'm doing right now looks sketch as hell, and to be honest, it is, but when you don't have an ironing board, and I don't, and also you've got this setup is not ideal, but I don't know. Anyway, now we're on to the ironing phase now that we have our fabric cut out, and I wanted to point out that if you don't have a steam iron, and my iron, which I am being very careful to not touch over there, is not a steam iron. But what you can do, actually, to kind of still get the effect of a steam iron, is you can get a little spray bottle like this one. I swear I got this one for like $1, again, at Joann Fabrics and Crafts. I shop there a lot. I'm not intentionally promoting them, they are our only legitimate fabric store in my town, so I go there a lot. But you can just get it, get one of these little spray bottles. You can, if you like still use, if you're a good human being and you use like pump spray, hairspray bottles instead of the like aerosol continuous spray cans, which are terrible for the earth, by the way. I don't use hairspray because my hair stays absolutely this flat no matter what I do to it. So hairspray don't do much for me. But you just kind of lightly mist the area, so it's not like wet, but it's a little bit damp before you iron it. And it is almost just like giving it a little squirt from a steam iron. So if you've got like a bunch of wrinkles, you iron them out, and then our first step, I'm going to be very careful about that iron over there, I promise, guys. I won't post this video if I burn myself all to heck. But our first step is going to be to fold over in half and iron it down like that. Which, I'm going to show you the start of, and then cut away and come back later because I'm having battery issues with my camera. But yeah, just make sure it's in half like that, and then just go over it with the iron to set it. And you're going to get a crease. I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. Alright, now that you've ironed it down in half, you have your center crease there when you open it back up. I'm going to get this a little bit closer to the camera so you can kind of see that crease there, hopefully. Hopefully that reads on camera. I don't know. The next step is going to be, and we're going to do this on both sides. You're going to take the edge and bring it in about 1/4 of an inch, and I usually just, that is not where you can see it. You fold it up just about 1/4 of an inch. And I generally always eyeball this. You know what, I'm gonna pick this up and show you anyway. I generally eyeball this, so it's not exact, but like about 1/4 of an inch. And that's gonna be, we're gonna do that on both sides. Both sides, and we're gonna iron it down all the way down the whole thing. So what we end up with is this, and if that part was tricky for you, don't worry, that's because it is tricky. It's especially tricky when you're down on the floor in a cramped freaking space trying to do all that ironing. But that's my life right now, so oh well. And then you should be able to fold it over and hopefully have it line up fairly evenly. Sometimes it's just going to decide to hate you. That's okay. You beat it into submission. So that you've got a nice little piece of band work like this. Yay! So now comes the lace, and you're gonna need your pens. I'm gonna try to show this to you at an interesting angle. So what you're gonna need to do is, you see the little top part of the lace there? That's clearly where you're, this is where you're supposed to sew in your lace to whatever project you're doing. And that is what we're gonna sandwich nicely in between our layers here. I don't think you can see that, so I'm gonna show you. Lay it across the bottom layer there, fold the top layer back onto it. Yeah, this is difficult from the other side. Okay. Trying to not get my arms in the way here. Aha, okay. But you're gonna get it sandwiched in there. Then pin that sucker in. The sooner you get the first piece in, the easier it's gonna get down the line, sort of. But you just kind of want to make sure you're hiding that little top piece of the lace, the little sew-in piece. Like so. Try to do this from this side a little bit. Nope, that's not going to work from that side. I need a better tripod. So I really have no idea how well this can be seen. Hopefully that step was understood. I will see you when we get to the end of this. Now, if you're like me and you've dealt with your lace right off of the spool instead of cutting it to the size first, this is the point where you're gonna cut your lace. Because I prefer to measure as few things as possible. There we go. Okay, so please pardon this portion of the video. You may notice this is a completely different garter from the garter I was sewing in the entire rest of the video, and that is because one essential piece of footage was completely lost, and that was the part where I actually sewed the garters. So I had to make up another garter, and I'm gonna sew it for you. So, but I also lost my tripod, so this is gonna be fun trying to film this. I'm gonna have a cutaway and we'll show you different angles and stuff, but what I want to show you to start with is how you're gonna set this up in your sewing machine there. And I mean, you can do this by hand too. It'll just take you forever, but you know, not as long as other things by hand. This would be a pretty easy by hand project. By hand standards. Anyway, what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to top stitch. So this is the right side of my garter, because as you can see I have this 3-layered lace and it goes this way. So that is the front, and this is gonna be my front stitching. I'm also using this light gray thread instead of like a dark gray thread or a green gray thread. Slight contrast, and that's just because I am too cheap to go buy thread specifically for this project, so I'm cool with the slight contrast going on. But But what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna sew as close to your edge as possible, because you want to make sure you're catching your lace in there and sandwiching it nice and good and putting things in frame. And just kind of right down here, so you're gonna aim that right in your presser foot there. Alright, I'm gonna switch angles and then actually show you some footage of me sewing, unless I lose it this time. Ha! Alright, see ya. Alright, I'll be back with you when I get to the end of this. Alright, I'm at the end. I may not have shown you this at the beginning, but do backstitch at the beginning and the end of your piece to secure the stitches. My backstitch button is right here, and I hit it and it goes like that. Okay, so that can be a little tedious if you're kind of a little bit of a perfectionist like me, and places where you can't even see that. Places where you veer off a little bit kind of aggravate you, and you're just like hurling abuse at your machine, even though it's entirely your own fault. But so we have our lace and fabric put together. We're going to set that to the side, because it is time to cut your elastic. Now remember I told you to write down your measurement? Yes, we need that again. For your elastic, you are going to take your base measurement and you are going to subtract at least an inch, probably about only an inch. So my base was 18, so I'm going to go to 17. And I'm just going to do this like this in front of you here. I'm going to do it this way. I lied. I found a pin. That's no good. Yeah, you want to do it so you can see the freaking numbers. Alright. So I got my 17 inches. I'm going to just hold it there with my hands and find some scissors. See, this is a representation of what it's like, really like to sew. Tutorials where people are all super prepared, they don't lose anything, and they cut out all of their mistakes. That's super disingenuous. This is what it's really like to sew. You just, sometimes it goes well, sometimes you're crazy pants. Gonna roll up this. Okay, so now that you have your elastic, yay, we are going to put the elastic in the casing. What you're gonna need now, and I forgot to tell you that you are going to need a safety clip at the beginning of this video, but you're gonna need a safety clip. This is like the singular most important part of this step. You must have the safety pin. And you're going to take one of your straight pins as well. The straight pin goes like so, as in across the width and not down the length on one side, and on the other side, safety pin. Now the safety pin end is the end you drop into the casing first. And you're going to be able to shove this in there pretty well until it hits the pin. Okay, so I've just about met the pin here. When you get it where it's not going in real quick, that's when the safety pin is your savior. You just kind of start the gather by pushing it down over the safety pin and pulling it back over it. I don't like to do that until I've gotten it just about as far as I can by just kind of wiggling it in, just because it's weird if there's not like a stopper on the other end. But that's just the way I do it. I'm a weirdo sometimes. Everyone does all these little sewing tricks absolutely differently, and that's why a million tutorials are actually super necessary, because one person may have one method and you completely don't understand it, but somebody else does something else that, you know, the steps seem different, but the result is the same. And so you might just, oh, I get it now. And that's how it goes. So you just keep doing this. But this is why the safety pin is necessary. You cannot do this with just the elastic in there. You finally get it so that the end comes out. Yay! And just scrunch all of that down. See? All of this delicious gathering. Oh! I lost it. That'll happen sometimes. Okay. So what I like to do as the next step is to line my edges up, the elastic and the casing, and then I have pins over here. I like to stick a pin in it so that it will not go anywhere, and then I can take my safety pin out. And then I have this all ready to go. And then I go back to the other end. I'm going to put my safety pin back in with my straight pins, because that is where I keep my one singular safety pin that I own. I'll fix that someday. I will. I really will. Now you go back to the other side that had just the stopper straight pin in it, and you want to line the fabric and elastic up similarly to the way you did on the other side. Just do not lose hold of it. And if you do, don't worry about it. You have to start over, whatever, it's good practice. Like, honestly, be chill. It's all good. And so I have another little sandwich piece like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay close attention, because one of these sides is going to be the inside of my garter and one side is going to be the outside. As you can see, I have a bunch of upside down Wonder Women on this side. Wonder Women? Wonder Women, yes. And on this side, I have a bunch of right side up. And that's going to be the side that I'm going to want to be my outside. So now that I've identified the outside of my garter, or the right side of my garter, which is the sewing term, the right side is the side that you want to be showing, therefore the other side is the wrong side. So I'm going to put this together with my two right sides that are going to go on the outside, facing each other. So you see, I have my upside down Wonder Woman on the outside right now. And I have my two ends put together like this, and I am going to sew them together. I am going to use a zigzag stitch because a zigzag will expand with the elastic here. And I'm just going to zigzag all the way down. Okay. So this is me doing my zigzag. Just right along the edge where these meet. And I lied, I'm actually going to backstitch here and then change into a straight stitch to go down into the lace, to make the lace go together. Just cut off your tails there. If you can see me doing that. No, you cannot. Boom. Okay, so our last step here is to have missed a tail. Don't do that, kids. So, you have your seam on the outside. You just have to turn the whole thing to the right side. So that's your seam now. Looks all nice and pretty. And that is going to be, you're going to go ahead and that's going to be probably where you're going to wear the back of the garter. So if you were going on to embellish, I am not, you could glue or sew on some little ribbons or charms. You're going to want to do those just directly across from your seam in the front here, so that your seam goes in the back and your decoration goes in the front. And that is absolutely it. You got a nice cute little garter, y'all. Go you! Gonna put it on and wear it. This is awkward. Yada! So there you go. Take pictures, post it to the internet. It'd be fun. Okay, I'll see you guys the next time. I have a weird desire to muddle together a tutorial for something.